Serbia expels Croatian diplomat and further strains relations between the neighbors. Nuclear power definitively recognized as a green industry by the European Parliament. Brussels takes Spain before European justice for not complying with conciliation rules.
Israeli opposition party proposes amending nation-state law with equality clause. Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition announced. Boxed PS5 version won't include Phantom Liberty on disc. Destiny 2 is getting new cosmetics inspired by The Witcher. Sony owns Savage Game Studios, rebrands to Neon Koi.
The Muppets Mayhem cancelled at Disney Plus after one season. Ricky Gervais' special Armageddon launches on Netflix on Christmas Day. The Horror of Dolores Roach, Harlan Coben's Shelter and With Love cancelled at Amazon Prime Video.
Black Mirror renewed for Season 7. Jackie Chan, Ralph Macchio team for new Karate Kid movie. Miracle Workers cancelled after 4 seasons at TBS.
Melissa Barrera dropped from Scream 7 after social media posts amid Israel-Hamas war. Scream 7 director reacts to Melissa Barrera firing. "This was not my decision to make." BBC edits out calls for Gaza ceasefire at Scottish BAFTA Awards. Tim Burton doesn't want sequels or a reboot for The Nightmare Before Christmas. Mrs. Doubtfire director says he has 972 boxes of footage ready for a documentary on Robin Williams and the film. Silver Surfer in Marvel's Fantastic Four MCU reboot, reportedly a woman.
Thailand's cabinet approves a marriage equality bill to grant same-sex couples equal rights. In the UK, schools are discouraged from letting pupils change their pronouns. Only a two-state solution can bring real peace, China President Xi said in first public speech on conflict. China closing hundreds of mosques in northern regions, rights group says. Israel says WHO ignored terror activity at Gaza's Shifa hospital. Ehud Barak says bunkers were built to provide space for the hospital.
Zelensky says he survived 5 or 6 assassination attempts by Putin's forces. Putin pardons Satanist cannibal, sent to Russia's Stormzy unit in Ukraine. Armenia may deliver 200 ballistic missiles and S-300s to Ukraine. White House says Iran may be considering providing ballistic missiles to Russia. In South Korea, medical schools want annual enrollments to nearly double in 2025. Mexico's President AMLO says, although they mock in March 2024, the best health system in the world will work in Mexico.
Chinese state-owned banks are propping up the yuan, while the central bank signals currency weakness. Yellen says, high food and rent prices have key factors in voters' negative economic outlook. Canada's inflation rate cools to 3.1% but the cost of living keeps going up. BBC admits, it may not be able to afford to keep Six Nations rugby. Argentina celebrates 1-0 win over arch-rivals Brazil. Brazil loses at home for the first time in the history of the qualifiers. In the UK, soldiers are offered £7,500 to join the weekend parachute regiment amid a manpower crisis. Netherlands Rutte seizes lead in NATO jailbreak as he exits Dutch politics. Canada's Leopard 2 tanks arrive in Latvia to bolster growing NATO mission. Tottenham Hotspur face serious allegations of breaching transfer rules in Jermaine Defoe to Portsmouth deal. USA exits U17 World Cup after 5-goal thriller with Germany. Stockholm becomes latest European city willing to host 2030 Winter Olympics.
Elon Musk's thermonuclear lawsuit over hate-adjacent ads on X actually confirms them. Elon Musk announces he will donate X advertising revenue to hospitals in Israel and the Red Cross in Gaza after backlash over his anti-Semitic tweet. American magazine company Forbes cancels sale deal allegedly linked to Russian oligarch. Recently, Forbes Media cancels sale to tech CEO after missed deadline. America First Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene prints book in Canada. Salon comments as, worry less about TikTok and bin Laden, fret more that Mike Johnson shares the terrorists' view. In South Africa, young voters show up. 78% of new registrations were citizens aged 16 to 29, says IEC.
USB worm unleashed by Russian state hackers spreads worldwide. Russian pilots hacked emails revealed weapons supplier routes to Iran, Syria, and Mali. Google Chrome will limit ad blockers starting June 2024. FBI director admits agency rarely has probable cause when it performs backdoor searches of NSA collections. U.S. government pays AT&T to let cops search Americans' phone records, usually without a warrant. Tesla workers report explosions concussions, and grisly robot injuries at Texas factory. Jaguar Land Rover will spend £10 million British pounds fitting older cars with security to fend off keyless thefts. Medical cannabis does not impair cognitive function when used as prescribed. Nicotine use in youth linked to altered brain blood flow, study finds. Bacteria form memories and pass them on to future generations. Attractiveness has a bigger impact on men's socioeconomic success than women's, study suggests. The bilingual brain may be better at ignoring irrelevant information. Sex toys can cause diabetes, scientists warn. Sweden denies Polish officials' claim its preschools have masturbation rooms. Downing Street deletes post about Northern Ireland with Irish flag. In South Korea, stone thrown by child kills man, triggers debate on juvenile laws.
Binance, world's largest crypto exchange, to pay $4.3 billion fine as CEO pleads guilty to federal charges. Binance's CZ, I made mistakes, confirms Richard Teng will take over as CEO. Nayib Bukele clears Team Bitcoin El Salvador to visit Argentina, says Max Kaiser, the El Salvador's crypto advisor.
EU population fell by 265,000 during the pandemic. High temperatures may have caused over 70,000 excess deaths in Europe in 2022.
OnePlus 12 could arrive globally in January 2024. Samsung to implement new blue phosphorescent OLED panels in 2025. AI finds formula on how to predict monster waves.
In the USA, Border Patrol sending migrants to unofficial camps in California's desert, locals say. In the UK, homeless refugee crisis grips Liverpool. Reportedly, Korea leaves migrants to fend for themselves by shuttering all foreign worker support centers. South Africa plans to withdraw from UN conventions so it can restrict immigration and send refugees back to countries not deemed dangerous.
Hamas attack, Israeli response fall under ICC jurisdiction, prosecutor says. 3 rights groups file ICC lawsuit against Israel over Gaza genocide. Israel recalls its ambassador from South Africa.
India are putting pressure on the ICC to reconsider their decision to expand the 2027 World Cup to 14 teams. Pirelli axes F1 tire, as no new compounds to be introduced in 2024. Ken Griffin is in talks to buy Miami Dolphins and F1 stakes.
Tesla Cybertruck confirmed for 11,000-pound towing capacity. Toyota SUV ads banned for condoning driving with no regard for environmental impact in the UK. Ford to scale back plans for $3.5 billion Michigan battery plant, as EV demand disappoints, labor costs rise.
Superman, Legacy casts Skylar Gisondo as Jimmy Olsen. Brendan Fraser finds his first major role after Oscar win with Searchlight's Rental Family. Star Wars vet Dave Filoni has been named Lucasfilm Chief Creative Officer. It had been reported that governments want to double renewables by 2030, but they need to triple them to combat the climate crisis. It has been suggested that massive 2022 volcanic eruption reduced ozone levels. EU Parliament agrees stance on reducing truck CO2 emissions. Sodium-ion batteries are real in China. Bid to build 30 GWh sodium battery plant.
Millions in France warned not to eat eggs from backyard chickens due to forever chemical pollution. Most Americans are oblivious to forever chemicals and their risks, survey finds. In the UK, Supreme Court rules London Deliveroo riders are not workers. Disabled people must work from home to do their duty, says UK Minister. Britain to raise minimum wage by 9.8% to £11.44 an hour. UK Treasurer Jeremy Hunt to cut business tax and national insurance.
Tees Valley Mayor Ben Houchen invites rejected London Sphere project to Teesside. Recently, London Mayor Sadiq Khan rejected plans to build version of Las Vegas venue in London as Stratford MSG Sphere. Magicians, jugglers and other artists in London's shopping hub Covent Garden are under threat from council clampdown on noise complaints.
As gold prices rise, Malaysians turn to pawn shops for fast cash to cope with diminishing savings. Over 75% of foreign money invested into Chinese stocks in 2023 has left. In Ireland, owners of just 3,000 properties liable for new vacant property tax. In Malaysia, bomb threat sent to 19 schools nationwide, confirmed a hoax. In Canada, judge suspends adoption of pro-Palestinian policy at McGill Student Union. Recently, McGill students voted in favor of pro-Palestinian policy.
Webb telescope captures cluster of baby stars in the center of the Milky Way. Triple star discovery could revolutionize understanding of stellar evolution. First black hole ever imaged by humanity is losing huge amount of energy through lightsaber jets. Canada bans import, export of elephant ivory and rhino horns, including hunting trophies.
SpaceX's Starship should be ready to fly again before Christmas, Elon Musk says. North Korea claims satellite win after 2 failures this year, as in, Korea says it successfully put satellite into orbit. Japan condemns launch. Maxar's largest ever satellite, Jupiter 3, deploys solar arrays and antennas in orbit. Venmo, Cash App users sue Apple over peer-to-peer payment fees. China fines iPhone maker Foxconn $2,800 amid major tax probe. Sunbird shuts down its iMessage app for Android amid security concerns.
Apple CEO succession plans very detailed, says Tim Cook. Mansions tied to Evergrande chairman Hillier seized by creditor. NYC comptroller urges Tesla board to hold Musk accountable.
Investors with $11 trillion back a plan to reform mining industry. Global land crunch risks sparking conflict, UK's Chatham House says. US to push Israel on allowing Gaza offshore gas reserves to revitalize Palestinian economy. DeSantis wins endorsement of Iowa evangelical leader. Sean Hannity says there are way too many moderates in the Republican Party. Milwaukee is seeking insurance against nuclear weapons for Republican National Convention. It has been commented as Malaysia's PM Anwar struggles to boost Malaysian economy, a year after victory, by Nikkei. Milady says Argentina heading for shock fiscal therapy in 2024. Brazil's central bank can keep cutting rates, Campos NATO says. Indonesia's digital economic GDP nearly reached IDR 1,232 trillion, nearly $80 billion, in 2023. LNG cargo diverted to Brazil as hot weather drive up power demand. ESG targets of Europe's 20 biggest banks slammed in new report. U.S. Coast Guard seeks source of some 1.1 million gallons of crude oil in Gulf of Mexico. Israel's cabinet okays deal for release of 50 Israeli hostages in exchange for 4 days Gaza truce. China urges release of civilians in Israel-Hamas war. BRICS condemns Israel war on Gaza in signal to the West. Netanyahu says Israel will continue war against Hamas after ceasefire.
Banksy is Robbie. Unearthed 2003 interview reveals artist's first name. BTS SRM, Jimin, V, and Jungkook have begun the military enlistment process. In the UK, Mizzy, a TikTok prankster detained for posting videos without consent.
Mozart's Last Castle for sale. Bidding opens December 1, 2023. Letter written in English by Napoleon during his exile in St. Helena is set to fetch up to 80,000 British pounds. Reportedly, 60% of French billionaires have inherited a company. 10 to 16 of November, 2023. Status YouTube Weekly Top Songs, Houdini, Dua Lipa, Segan Kien, Maluma, Karine Leon, Chalia, Arijit Singh, Shilpa Rao, Si No Estas, Inigo Quintero, Lilalala, Stray Kids, Standing Next to You, Jungkook,